What's going on, guys? Bart here with Tully Television. I want to thank all of you for stopping by, liking, subscribing. I hope that today's the day you join us here at the Tully Television Tribe. Only together can we go straight to the moon, baby. What we're going to be doing today is going over episodes 6, 7, and 8 of Peacemaker Season 2. And the reason why I'm wrapping it up this way was because the last few weeks I wasn't able to stay current with it, and being the season finale aired this past Thursday at the time of this recording, I figured I'd just wrap it up in one final review. And I will go through the cast real quick again. Of course, we have John Cena as Christopher Smith, aka Peacemaker, Danielle Brooks as Leota Adebayo, Freddie Stroma as Vigilante, Jennifer Holland as Amelia Hartcart, Steve Agee as Economos, Patrick Swayze. I wish it was Patrick Swayze, even though I do like Robert Patrick. Robert Patrick as Augie, Newt Lee as Judo Master, Frank Grillo as Rick Flag Sr., Tim Meadows as Agent Flurry, David Denham as Keith Smith, aka the one Jim Halpert screwed over in a relationship. He screwed himself over, though. But enough about The Office. The last 3 episodes were entitled Ignorance is Chris, like Ignorance is Bliss, like a Keith in the Night for episode 7, and Full Nelson for episode 8. Episode 8, Full Nelson, right, refers to John Cena being a wrestler, and Full Nelson is a wrestling move. The whole team seems to be in a full Nelson hold by Argus. And the third Easter egg connected to this that I didn't really hear anyone talk about, because I've heard other people describe what they thought what Phil Nelson was referring to, is that the fact that the Ben Nelson performed near the end of this episode. They were twin rock stars back in the day, very much in the genre of what Christopher likes. You know, the 80s and the 70s and 80s hair bands and stuff like that. So I'm surprised no one put that together. But if they didn't, let me be the first to remind you that it also reminds us, it also connects to Nelson, the rock and roll band, okay? And so, with that being said, I'm going to try to go over some of the more important highlights. I may miss something here and there. If I do, I apologize. But that's what the comment section is for. Let me know down below what you're thinking about what I'm saying, and if I missed anything. And let's get into it. So, Lex makes a cameo, episode 6, in regards to helping Rick Flag Sr. Okay, now this is where we begin to see the cracks in Argus being led by Rick Flag Sr. His obsession with Peacemaker, for valid reasons, has become him trying to do something for justice, to now in cahoots with a man who nearly destroyed Metropolis, okay? Now, this was a big cameo for this show. From what I'm understanding, they filmed this cameo scene during Superman, the Superman movie, so they can use the scenes they used there and use some new scenes here, being they had all the actors together, so to speak, right? So a little smart filmmaking there, so to speak, there, Mr. Gunn. I'll give you that for sure. And we get the revelation that the Earth X the Earth 2, where Chris is at, is a world in which the Nazis had won World War II. And we slowly begin to realize that since the beginning of the season, when we don't really see any people of color anywhere, not a Latin, not a brown person, a black person, nowhere, right? And you don't really see, if you dig a little further into it, any sort of homosexual couples or couples that fall under the LGBT plus um, community together. You know what I mean? We're not seeing any lesbians together, any gay guys together, and whatever type of variation of relationships there, right? We're not seeing that. It's very much heterosexual relationships to the T. Okay? And we then begin to understand that this is a world taken over by the Nazis, so to speak. And I'm assuming the rest of the world. Now, just a quick little thing for me to be honest with you. I had always envisioned that if the bad guys from World War II had won back then, that I'd be making this video in German instead of English. I'm making that joke now because I just think that it's weird that English is the primary language in America at this juncture in time, being that the Germans had won. You would figure that wouldn't talk that filthy American language. We must talk German. Or nothing like that. Or if German nationals overtook living in America, there's no. I don't know. Maybe that's a little nitpick that I'm picking on. And you would figure that there would be more. I know we're purposely led with camera work, camera tricks, to not seeing any. But you're telling me that there's no statues, monuments. But we're looking at this world through Chris's eyes, I guess, right? That's going to be what is said. We're looking through this world through the peepers of Peacemaker here, and he's looking for any reason for this to be a perfect world. Because in this world, his brother is alive. He never killed his brother in this reality. And even though that was an accident as children, the guilt of that affects him every day and his actions every day with everything he does. Everything that Peacemaker is from that incident as children. And also with the fact that his father, Augie, was a white supremacist. So that even really Chris thinks that he is a good guy, but he start realizing that he's not. And it was really confirmed to him in his eyes in this show, in this season, right? So for the zest of looking for the perfect world, Chris ignores all the signs in front of him. Okay. Now, so because of Harcourt rejecting him, because of the accidental killing of his brother, shooting his own father on purpose, all of these things have broke Chris down and led him to be on this earth because they're so accepted. Keith, Augie, and Chris, they are national heroes. And we see that in episode 7 where they're out eating breakfast after defeating the kaiju. At the end of episode 6, they're covered in kaiju juice and guts and blood and intestines. And they have a couple of kids come up and wanting to take pictures. And when they take the picture, you see the melting of the faces in the intro to let you know that nothing is what it appears on the surface. And so what winds up happening is that Lee Adebayo lets everyone know that Chris left to the other Earth, and he left, that he basically isn't coming back. And it's up to our 11th Street kids here to go get John Cena back. To get Chris back is what I'm meaning. I used his real name there, John, because they have the quantum folding door platform thingy, right? And so they go in not realizing that they're walking themselves into a racist world. I mean, Adebayo, oh my God, I can only imagine, like, you know what I mean? So what winds up happening is Hardcourt winds up going and looking for Chris. Economos and Adebayo stay at the house, the where Augie and Keith and Chris live, or that version's Chris lives. And Bio decides to take a walk, leaving Economos there. And Augie walks in and winds up capturing him and asking him what's going on. Economos gets stabbed in the hand and everything, and he's quick to tell. If he ever got arrested by police and you committed a crime with him, man, he's going to get that Big Mac meal. I tell you right now, he's going to get the nuggets and the large French fries and the Sprite and everything, okay? Because he's telling. And he told Augie what was going on. And then near the end of the episode, of that particular episode, Adebayo realizes that she's in a predicament because there's a crowd of people that start chasing her. And it's Keith who instigates this because he's on his way back. And he yells, "One of them got away! It's a black!" And it's like, whoa, bro, what the hell is going on here? What is the necessity for all that, my friend, right? Like, boom. So, as him and other people are chasing her down, Augie calls Keith to have him come back to the house so he can tell him what's going on. But as far as Adebayo is concerned, she tries to make her way into this pool to separate herself from others. And we finally get to know what happened to Judo Master, because Judo Master appears out of the blue. He helps her out of the pool, and he takes these live electrical wires and he puts them in the pool, and everyone's frying like it's a fish fry Friday at the Elks Club, all right, at the Elks Lodge there. And he kills everyone, and they go back to the house that Judo Master's been hiding out at. And he explains to her that, in this world, the Nazis won because he's been researching with some of the books and stuff that are in the house that he's hiding out at, because I guess the residents are on vacation. Adebayo thanks him for saving her. He mentions how he was tased by her several times last season, and she apologizes for that. And he accepts her apology. And, he, being a fellow minority himself, and I believe that he's also part of the LGBT plus community, and knowing that she is as well because she's married to a woman, he had to do the solid thing, right? At the end of the day, we gotta reunite. We gotta not reunite and unite against Nazis for Yahtzees for sure. I keep remembering that. If I keep saying that, YouTube may can't bust my chops over that. So that's where we at with that. Now, as we're coming up to the to that episode 2, near the end of that episode, everyone winds up gathering together, because back at Argus, Earth X Argus, John Cena finally realizes that he's in a Nazi world. Because Hardcourt is like, oh my gosh, I meant to tell, Vigilante has a ton of money and cocaine that he seizes from all the criminals that he takes out, and he doesn't spend it. And they ended up using the folding quantum doorway in his house. We get to meet Vigilante's mother, who's a very sweet woman. We don't we don't know why he's so angry at her all the time, but as they were getting ready to use the door, there was an explosion and some coke got all over them. So when Harcourt and Chris made it to Earth X Argus, right? Our versions of these characters, the dogs start going nuts because they smell the residual cocaine on her, right? The residual Colombian snow slopes are all over her. And finally, they let her go and stuff like that. Harcourt and Christina Peacemaker talking a little bit about their feelings again about why he went to this Earth X, and he didn't feel like there was anything left for him to live in a positive way in the world that he was raised in and living in. So she says, but this isn't your world. You need to come back. And she convinces him to come back. The hard part of that world shows up, wants her arrested. Chris winds up taking our hard cart with him and jetpacks out of there, gets out of there, winds up making it back to Augie's house where everyone's together. And believe it or not, we have Judo Master and Adebayo outside with Vigilante, and Vigilante met his own self, his own doppelganger. And we wind up finding out this is how our Vigilante winds up finding out that Peacemaker from Earth X, it was a piece of turd. And so that version of Adrian, of Vigilante from Earth X, has been trying to be like a liberator. He joined the Sons of Liberty and is facing the Yahtzees, so to speak, right, in this world. And so he agrees to help our Vigilante, and of course then helps the rest of the crew there to get back to their reality, their Earth. And when everyone gets together, because Chris now is explaining to Augie and Keith what it was that happened, and he told them the truth about everything. And Keith is incensed. He is furious, which goes to show you that even though in different realities that doppelganger is you, it's not you, because that was Keith's brother, right? That version of Keith, that was his brother, not this guy that's sitting there that looks like my brother. We didn't grow up together, right? So you're not my brother. You just happen to look like my brother. You killed my brother. And Augie's like, this is when we realize we're definitely not in Kansas anymore, because this Augie is like, son, it was a mistake. And to be honest, Chris wasn't. We knew how he was. Keith got all bent out of shape. No, Dad, how was he? And he was like, basically, he's a good kid. In some ways, a good kid, but he was a piece of shit. With all the violence and the drugs and everything that he does to people, it's not good. It's not good. And this kid did it on accident. And then our Chris explains that he's got to get his friend who happens to be black. And Keith was like, oh, I seen her. I was chasing after her. And Augie was like, why are you doing that for? We don't do that here. We don't. And because of the previous experience of people with him on the other Earth being a racist, to hear him disavow what this world is about and that he has actually morals and ethics is amazing. And that you even hear Chris near Vigilante's not realizing any of this, and as Vigilante comes in, he winds up killing Augie. Keith gets nuts. There's cops there that were winded up trying to look for our Chris too, because in order to escape the situation that he was in, Augie and Keith came to rescue him and Harcourt and killed a bunch of cops. So the cops are thinking that Chris did it. And Augie knows he didn't do it. He's trying to get him out of here, right? But Vigilante winds up taking Augie out. Keith tries to fight Chris and the others to prevent them from going. And Keith gets his ass kicked, okay? And as the group was almost ready to kill him, one of the best scenes I've seen John Cena act in, he screams, "No, stop, what are we doing?" He says he's a curse to every world he goes to everyone's life. And they wind up leaving, okay, and Keith survives. So we know that Keith is going to be a lingering thing in the future, because that's where we end with Earth X. We now with at the end of that episode, we see Chris giving Argus the platform. He told Flag Senior that they came to get me to give it to you, and kept them out of trouble. And Chris winds up going to jail. Adebayo convinces Vigilante to use some of the money to bail Chris out, and also start a new agency called Checkmate. And in this particular agency, we have Rick Flag Sr.'s little girlfriend in on it, because she's realizing he's doing things the wrong way. Economos, Flurry winds up joining. Harcourt. We wind up getting Checkmate, basically, okay? And John, I don't know why I keep doing that. Chris keeps wind up more to himself. We get in a minute by Harcourt that she has feelings for Chris, but she doesn't know what that means exactly yet, or what it was that she wants. But just to hear that she has feelings for him is enough for Chris. Okay, near the end, as everything is going together well, they go see a couple bands on the party boat. That's where we see the group Nelson, and then this group Foxy Shazam or something like that, that sings the intro song, the dance routine, so to speak. And so everything seems to be going really well, except that Argus captures Chris near the end of this last episode. Now, what Rick Flag was doing with Argus after getting the platform was investigating different worlds, in which we didn't know initially why he was doing that. And we've seen some interesting worlds. One was just a black hole, so that was the end of that universe, I guess. I guess Lex Luthor was successful in destroying the planet with that Terra Metropolis, maybe. We see cute but dangerous world. We see a world with big spiders with skulls for heads. But what Argus is doing is finding a planet to become a prison planet, to send everybody, all these criminals, to that prison planet called Salvation. And they wind up putting Peacemaker in that as the first inmate, so to speak. And that was the ultimate revenge for Rick Flag. And as he said, this is for Ricky. And the way he was able to get around that legally was due to some paperwork Peacemaker signed earlier on in the season. And so my theory about him trying to find an alternate reality, Rick was wrong. He was just looking for a prison planet, and Peacemaker is now on this planet alone, No one knows where he's at except for Argus, and we hear some very large, scary sounding creatures in the background. And that's where we end this series and this show, because at the time of this recording, there are no more plans to make any more seasons of Peacemaker. This Peacemaker show is going to wind up connecting to the next Superman movie, and depending on how they do that, we'll see if it was good or done well or not. There are certain things that I wish they would have concentrated on a little bit more. I would have liked to see maybe a little bit more of the worlds and how that went. Um, yeah, I mean, I would have liked to see more Earth X, to where to where Chris wasn't such an idiot about it and kind of dawned on him, like, oh, what did I do? I'm not about this, something like that. So those are a couple things I wish they would have concentrated a little bit more on. There were some good action sequences and fight sequences. Um, I guess they didn't really do a Rick Flag Sr. versus Chris fight, because I think Peacemaker would have won that fight anyway. Harcourt, we find out like her emotional journey and feeling like she's not worthy of love. Adebayo trying to figure out her new life. Economos trying to figure out how to stand up for himself more. Flurry was a great addition to the cast, even with his bird blindness. And Judo Master, of course, was always, top notch in my books. We see Eagly living with Economos at the moment, and yeah, that's why where we wound up leaving the show in the series. And I think that in an overall sense, the first season to me hit a little bit better. Yeah, I liked the first season a little bit more. Like the first season, I'll give that like an 8.5 for sure. Like a solid like A minus. To me, this particular season, I'll give more like an 8, a 7.5 or 8. Some of the jokes were okay. Some of the things I wish they would have concentrated on a little bit more. But, I'm not the man in charge, so to speak. But you guys let me know what you think of Peacemaker. Was this character worth having a spotlight on in an overall sense or not? Where do you compare season 1 to season 2? Let me know all that down below. And where do we go from here with Checkmate and John being on Salvation? Give me your thoughts down below.